Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the series we are having. Okay, so we've had the first episode already. That was last week Sunday, and we are having the second episode of the TypeScript series. And this episode is really going to be focused. Is going to be focused on how to also begin at the same time what we did. We are going to have recap on what we did with Samuel and Rani last week, and we are going to have more details. We are going to have a way to deal with your integers, to deal with your strings, and a whole lot of stuff with this series, with this episode. So make sure you are glued, you are stick with us to the end, so you get to know what we have in stock for you. I'm going to invite Wise, who is going to take over from here with whatever we have today. Is going to be handled by Wise. So let me welcome Wise. Wise, you're welcome.
Hello, thank you, Shadi, and thank
Yes.
you to everybody who has joined us today. Welcome, everyone, to
Okay.
today's edition of the
Sure.
Accra.NET TypeScript Beginner Series.
Sure, Wise. So yes. So Wise, what do you have for us today? Because it seems today you are really coming with some energy.
Okay, so today we want to take a couple of steps back. We want to look at
Okay.
some of the things that
Mm.
someone did the other day and
Okay.
go into some details, look into the TypeScript documentation and see why some of those things are done so we can really get a full grasp of the reasons why we have to take certain decisions, especially in relation to our TS config file. The
Okay.
compiler options, the things that we need to change to
Wow.
suit our project, and how we want our project output are all
Wow.
covered in today's episode.
Yeah. Wow. This is awesome. I'm really impressed, and I'm looking forward to also learn something new from you as well. And I'm sure the participants are also really stick with us. They want to see something new. They want to know what this TypeScript is all about. So why not? We have to jump into the game. So welcome everyone. If you just join us, this is the TypeScript series by Accra.NET group, and it's also supported by the Microsoft Student Ambassadors in Ghana. At the same time, the Accra Power User Group. We are all Accra Power Platform User Group. So we are all embedded into this TypeScript series. They are awesome series we are bringing to you. But just be with your system, your laptop, your computer, your desktop, your mobile phone, whatever gadget you are using. Just get in touch with it, sit behind, and watch us do magic. So, Wise, over to you now. Let's see what you have in stock for us.
Okay.
So you can share your screen.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, whilst Wise is ongoing with the training, if you have any question, you just drop it in the comment section, and I will get it in here for you, or Wise will definitely answer you. Yeah. All right.
Okay,
So sure.
thank you very much. Before we begin, I would like to mention that from the previous week, we had a question to the effect that where would they be able to get some of the files after we complete the series, or while we are going through the series, where they would be able to get the files to follow along. And so we have created this repo here, .NET UG TypeScript series. Currently, there's just a TS config file inside. That is going to cover just about what we need to do today. And so I'll drop the link in here for anybody who needs to follow along with the files that we use in the series. So immediately, I'll drop that here, and we can be able to use that as part of our training. Okay, thank you. And let me open my Visual Studio Code instance. So for starters, this is what I did. I used the link and I cloned the project into a folder. This is an empty folder. In fact, let me remove this. This is an empty folder that has been created. And so we can start if we are all on the same page. Hello, Shadi.
Yeah, so I realize you've dropped a link. I've dropped in the link. So
Yeah.
what you have to do is you just go on. The recorded
Yeah.
version will be there. Yes. So you just go on. The recorded version will be live. Then I mean, will be there for those who are watching and learning it. Will also later pick it up. Then I mean, also build something from it. Yeah,
Upon
so
it.
I'm
Okay.
yeah, so I've dropped the link there as well for them
Very
as
well.
you continue with the training. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So
All right. Sure.
as we can see, this is just the empty folder from the project that has been cloned over here. And so we want to start from what Samuel took us through the other day. The other time he showed us a few commands from the TS config. So I would like to start us from what he did by explaining some of the options within the TS config file and also how we might use those. So explaining the need for a TS config file, as our project grows larger, we would need to deploy that project. And so as mentioned earlier, we know that you cannot deploy direct TypeScript files. You have to compile those into your JavaScript source files, and then the JavaScript source files will be deployed on your server. So as your project gets larger, you would want to have a location where you can save all of that so that you move those at once to deploy. This and other reasons for some projects, you can have it called public. For some projects, you can have it called dist or I mean, for whatever the case may be, you need a way to be able to show that this is the files that I have completed my work with, and these are the files that I need to deploy, right? Okay, so I'll start real quick by opening our, our terminal, and the first command we want to run is a TSC or TypeScript compiler command, which will give us the option to be able to create that file. I think the last time what Sam did was to create the TS config file himself. But in today's session, we are going to use the TSC command, which is called init. So tsc init dash dash init, or the parameter init for the tsc compiler will help us to initialize the ts config. I don't know if you can see. I should get a darker theme so that it will be easier to I hope this is a lot more visible. Okay.
Yeah, this is cool. This is awesome.
All right. Thank you. So the idea is that, okay, sorry. So back to the TSC command. So basically, this is what the compiler has generated for us. It has a ton of options, right? And so we'll be going through some of these to understand exactly what they do. In the case where we need to go to our documentation, we would quickly run to typescriptlang.com and check what exactly this command is supposed to do, where the comment doesn't help us to decipher that enough. So basically, we have the target as ES5. And real quick, I want us to check on that real quick. So our TS5 command is our target. So the other day, Sam explained that you can use those for specific reasons. Let's say you want your project, your destination JavaScript file, you want it to target ES5, you want it to target ES3, which is usually the default. But why do we do that? I would open this link, which I'll also drop down in the comments for you later on, to caniuse.com. Basically, what happens is this. Our browsers are capable of a number of different things, right? So if we look at our TS config options that we have here, it says we can have ES3, which is the default. We can have ES5, and then we can have ES 2015. So given a file or given a project that you are working on, and if you look at caniuse.com, you want to check that if I'm using Internet Explorer 11, it's fully supported for ES5. If I'm using Edge, so version 12 to 88 is also supported, and other files, and other browsers as well, to see how compatible it is going to be with your project. So basically, that is what will inform your choice of either of this. So I'll try for this one as well. Let me just scroll to the right a bit. So let's say for something like ES 2019, okay? I can come here and then paste ES 2019 here. Okay, I don't get much information on this. Let me try another one. So let's say ES 2016. Okay, let me try the ES5 thing again and see if that works as well. Oh, wow. No. For a second, that was working. Okay, so, okay, it's working now anyway. Yeah, so we realize that for ES 2016, it's not supported by some versions of Internet Explorer. In fact, even for Internet Explorer 11, it's not supported. The Android browser, some versions do not support it. So if you are in Android 4.4, you can't use this version of JavaScript, or this version of JavaScript might not be able to function on your device. Samsung Internet 4 doesn't support it as well. Yeah. So some of these will inform why you need to choose either of these versions. All right, so we'll move to the next option that is also enabled by default for us, which is the strict mode. So the comment says it enables all strict type checking options. What is a strict type checking option? So the strict type checking option says that let's say if you have a class and there's an object in that class, and the object is an integer, if you assign a string to it, if there's strict type checking, your application should be able to complain. Just like Sam demoed the other day, it should complain or raise errors should you do that. Or for the next option, if you assign the type of any to any object, right? If you instantiate a variable and then you assign the type of any, this compiler option should also raise an error saying that you can't do an implicit any. So let's see what that might look like. So we have we have this variable which is equal to 0, right? So implicitly, this variable is an integer. So let's say let's say that we don't assign anything to it, right? Then implicitly, we are trying to tell the compiler that this variable is of the any type. So that compiler option we added, our TS config option that we added, that there should be no implicit any, will kick in real quick and then raise this error because that is not allowed by our configuration. You also have more options for null checks. You have, for those who will be using, we have the base URL of the project, the root directory, the types, the include, and all of that. And they all have specific things. They all have specific functionalities and reasons for which we might want to use them. Our next will be to look at the root directory and what it also does. So I have my TypeScript file here, right? So let's say I assign a number to this. So I do console.log and I save this. So now, because like we said earlier, we need a JavaScript file, we will need to compile this file. Okay, so we call tsc and then the name of the file. So we run the tsc compiler against the file, and automatically it should be able to give us our JavaScript output. Okay, then we add another file. So we add another file. And we add in some other complex stuff. Sorry. And we log just like we did in the other file, right? Then we say, yeah, tsc dot what's it called? So compile other file for us as well, right? So now we have other file JS, we have index.js. Yeah, but this is not really a good way of doing this. We want to do something such that all the projects within here, or sorry, all the TypeScript files within here, immediately I run, let me, immediately I run my tsc command, it should be able to kick in all those files and compile them at the same time. I mean, imagine having worked on multiple files and having to use the TypeScript compiler to do that one after the other. You would bear with me that that will be quite a process. And so this is what we will do. We'll go into our TS config and then we will look for our root directory. So let's find this. Sorry, we look for our root directory. And so we'll say that this is our root directory, right? That is the base of the project. So now, let me save this real quick. So now, sorry, I'll add another file, right? And immediately, let me just copy some of this and in another file. And immediately I go and run my Tsc compiler, and it goes through all the files. I should have, right? I should have another file also compiled into a JS file. And we achieved that by telling the TS config that, oh, all the TypeScript files we ever need to compile are in the base directory. And so please look there. Okay. So let me quickly do this. So let me see. Let me quickly push this ones. Okay, so to our next action, we want to see how further we can take this command. So I'm sure that a lot of us have seen projects that had a lot of us have seen some projects, or we went to generate an Angular project or something of the sort that had something like a source folder, right? And in the source folder, maybe they had something like app, and in the app folder is where, oh, open up. Okay, so and in the app folder is where you have maybe something like app.ts, right? Okay, so first let me try this, and then let's see if our stuff will compile this. So basically, because it's in the root, it will automatically add this to be compiled, right? Okay, fine. So now we want to tell our application that, okay, so this everything is in the root, but we want to add some other file here. Oh, sorry. We want to add another file that wouldn't be in the source, right? So let's say this file is not within the source application, but we want to restrict the compilation of our files into just the ones in the source, with the idea that probably anything that is outside here will be another configuration file, or if we have another folder, that will be our end, what's it called, or our distribution file, which we will use to deploy the application. And so we don't want compile time to be wasted on those application as well, right? So let's say, yeah, so something awesome is 0. But right now, if we run this, we realize that both the files within our application would work, and also the ones outside will also be compiled. So our first action is that we go and say that, oh, okay, our root directory is src, right? So let's delete this manually, and then we run our tsc compiler again. So when we run our tsc compiler this time around, we see that even though we have specified that this is our root directory, it doesn't really affect whether or not this file is also going to be affected by our TypeScript compiler. So let's try the next configuration in our TS config. So the next configuration in our TS config, let me search for that, is called an include. But for some reason, include is not shown here by default. So we can go to our TypeScript documentation. We open a browser instance. So we go to our TypeScript lang.org, and then we will look for, of course, where is this? Okay, let me search so I can use the Google search instead to go there. So we want compiler options include. So let's go into our Tsc configuration, and our Tsc configuration is ordered in a specific way. So we'll go through that to find exactly what we are looking for in the Tsc reference. So over here in file inclusion, we have the include, and it says that include specifies an array of file names or patterns to include in the program. These file names are resolved relative to the directory containing the tsc config.json file. So this shows us the files that we want the Tsc compiler to touch. So it means anything beyond this specification or anything beyond this configuration would effectively be ignored. Okay, so let's come back to Rts config file. Oh, yeah. So first we take a note of how it looks like. This is the name of the command, and it takes an array, a comma separated array of strings to specify the files that need to be included in the project. So we come here at the end of all of this, and then we specify our command, right? We want to include, and then we have our array of items. So I'll say src for our source project, right? So immediately I'll come back here. Oh, let me save that first real quick. Immediately I'll come back here and I see all my files, right? So I delete the JavaScript files that will be reapplied anytime we do something, or that will be regenerated for us. And then I'll run the tsc command again. But this time, if we watch carefully, we realize that tsc generated only the app.js and did not make any change to the extra file.ts, simply because inside the pattern for the include, tsc is being told to only focus on the source file or the source folder and ignore every other thing. And we can quickly confirm that action by trying to move this into, yes, I want to move into app, right? So immediately I move this into app and I run my tsc again. We realize that the extra file.js has been generated, and then the app.js has also been generated. Okay. So we have that for the include, and also as an extension, we have that for the root directory, and also as an extension for the include command. The next thing we want to do is that now we know that our source files are here, right? And each of these source files generates the JS file next to itself, right? So each of these files are accompanying, what's it called? Are accompanying the main file. So we have come to a conclusion that we want our files, sorry, yep, so we delete that too. But we have come to a conclusion that we want our distribution files, or the files that we'll be publishing at the end of our work, right? We want those files to all be in one specific location so that we can pick those up, maybe zip it up, and send those to our server, to the server which would work on, or to the server which will publish the application to become visible. So by that, we want to group all the destination files to one place so we can send it in one singular bulk, right? So this is what TS config can help us to do in that section. So just like we have, let me zoom out a bit. Just like we have our source directory, we also have an out directory. And it says that the comment by that says that it redirects the output structure to the specified directory. And this means that all the project files that will be compiled, any resulting JavaScript output file that we get from that will be sent to the specified folder. Okay, so I'm sure that this is a common structure that we've all seen somewhere or in one project or another, which says that which specifies the dist folder for all files that will be compiled within the project, right? So we quickly save up that, and then we run our tsc command again. Our tsc command is throwing an error. In this case, let's see. It says that, oh, okay, so we run, what's it called? We run a wrong command here. Let's quickly get back to that. So instead of the out directory, we went to modify the out file instead. So let's come back to the out directory and we provide a destination. So basically the out file says that, oh, okay, for all the files you are writing, I want to convert that into a single file by concatenating the output files in all the compiled files into one singular file, so that, or if I deploy just this one singular file, then everything will be simplified for me. And a number of popular projects also do this. Notable among them is Angular, which I think uses the out file in its configuration. Okay, that was just by the way to explain that. And let's get back to the out directory, which directs the output structure into the specified directory. So we will run our tsc command again. And our tsc command run, but then there's an issue with it. So real quick, I'm going to delete this. For some reason, it didn't notice that as a directory. So this is what I'll do. Inside here, I'll create another directory called dist, and then I'll run our command again. Okay, and so this time, if I open the source app folder, I realize that there are no files in here, But when I come to this distribution or this, I see that there are two JavaScript files in here. So that way, if I want to deploy my application, I can quickly open this destination or distribution folder and then get all the files that I need for my deployment. I think that should be, oh, sorry. So that should do it for that command as well. Basically helps you to specify the location of your compiled JavaScript or resulting JavaScript files from the compiled TypeScript files that were ingested. Okay, so now that we have this down, our next command, let's look inside the out directory and see what else we can or what else is required for everyday work. We see a command called source map. So a source map says it generates corresponding map file, but that is not as explanatory as we would expect it to be. And so we come back to our search engine once again, and then we look for source map. So let's open this Stack Overflow entry and see if we can be able to find any answer that properly defines what a source map is. So it says the option dash dash source map tells the compiler that you want the source map generation. The next question is if you want to use them as separate files or not. So the inline source map will put the generated source maps inside your output file, and there's another option. This one will create a separate JS map file. So we want to get more information on that. What does that mean? We still don't understand. So let's go to the TypeScript lang, and then we look for the compiler options, which says that, where are you? Okay. Say generate source map for each corresponding file. Okay. Okay, great. So I think we can copy this and hopefully include this as part of our details. So basically it says a source map file maps from the transpiled JavaScript to the original TypeScript file. This allows the original TypeScript code to be reconstructed whilst debugging. Yeah. So basically, the source map will help us while debugging to know how to sort of reconstruct the TypeScript for a seamless debugging experience, right? So we enabled that too, and we run our Tsc compiler again. And this time around, in the destination, it will add map files for each of those. And those basically just reference our TypeScript file, extra file TS, and add some additional information that is basically unreadable. But then the compiler uses this to help us during our debugging experience. Okay. So early, too soon, we have come to I think we just have about 2 minutes remaining. So Shadi, over to you. If there are any other questions, there are questions, we will take those real quick, and then we can end our session for today. The idea is that we organize this in bite sizes so that it can be easily digestible and consumable for those who are starting out just like I am.
Sure.
So thank you.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's very true. That's how we are going to handle this. So we are just going to give it to you in the bit by bit. So there is always a room for you to learn, and we are going to have this series on our YouTube platform, the .NET Accra.NET YouTube platform. So the videos are going to be there forever. It's going to be there forever, and you are going to have access to it. TypeScript series. So you are going to have access to it and go through over and over. Whatever you learn from here, it will help you one way or the other. Who knows? So
Yeah.
yes, so that's how. Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. Nice seeing you here once again. It's been a while. Yeah, so Frank will be here one day on this TypeScript series to also talk to us as well. And we are hoping he makes time for us, probably next 2 weeks. He will make time for us. So Wise will continue with what he's doing next week. For those who didn't catch up, so he will do it. He will continue it next week. The video will be there on our YouTube platform, so you always have access to it. It's going to be there forever. So Wise will do a top up of whatever he's doing here today. We'll have a top up next week. Thank you very much, guys. We promise to make this short and very simple for you to understand. So thank you very much once again, and thank you very much, Wise, for the opportunity you've given to us all. We really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm sure some of you will come in later to watch the video because you're having some other stuff to do one way or the other. But the videos are there. Our previous video had a couple of views. Yeah, I think people came in later to watch. So the videos are going to be recorded down as it's on YouTube. So you always have access to them. Yeah. So thank you very much once again, and we are hoping to have you guys be with us throughout the series, and at the end, something new will be learned. Yeah. All right. So from us, from my colleague, and then from me, myself, and the entire community, we say bye to you all.
Yeah. Thank you. And the files are available at the link that has been shared below.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So bye, everyone.
All right.